Hello everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Recipes Unraveled. So, my wife just started a keto diet, which, if you don't know what that means, pretty much 50% of her body is meat and cheese right now. And I've got to admit, I've never made what I'm about to make today myself. Usually my wife is the one that does it. But I've done a lot of internet research, taken advice from my wife, and I think that I'm prepared for this moment. Worst case scenario, I'll just not upload this video to YouTube. So if you're watching this right now, I probably have successfully cooked my first brisket. Hey Logan.
What?
Why didn't the cow cross the road?
I don't know.
He didn't want a brisket.
Brisket what?
So I walk into my kitchen the other day, I open up the fridge, and then I see this guy hanging out in there. I mean, what am I supposed to do with that, right? And the first thing that you're going to want to do is we're going to trim this bad boy up. We're going to establish a rub, and we're going to make sure that that gets set about 12 to 24 hours before we start cooking this. All right, it's out of its packaging now, and the first thing that you're going to need to do is trim the fat until there's about 1/4 of an inch of fat on here. That will be used to help keep the meat moist, but there's a lot of extra fat that we can definitely get rid of. If you want to use it in something else, you can. Gonna flip it over just to make sure that there's no fat I need to get off the other side. One more time. So you can see there that there's about 1/4 of an inch of fat, and we're just gonna proceed with that. For the rub, I'm just gonna take the brisket and slather it up in mustard. After doing that, I'm going to take a combination of seasonings from salt, pepper, crushed red pepper, paprika, and cayenne, and I'm going to blend those together and just put it all over. First things first, as I said, you're just gonna wanna liberally coat this in mustard. I'm gonna add some flavor, and it's gonna help to tenderize the meat. Now with your mustard hands, go ahead and grab that rub that you created and spread about half of it on one side. And half on the other. One of the recipes I read online actually had you using pickle juice in addition to the mustard. I thought that that was a good idea. I just don't have any on hand right now. Once you have it nice and rubbed down, you're just gonna throw it in the fridge, and we're gonna wait until the wee hours of the morning. So there's one type of seasoning that you need a lot of for brisket, and that seasoning is thyme. Now, of course, my whole family's asleep, so I have to limit my volume, but there were a few things that I wanted to point out. First, if you have some sort of Bluetooth meat thermometer, it's going to definitely help you in the process of completing this brisket. Secondly, this brisket is gigantic. I'm not sure if it's actually going to fit in my smoker. I'll continue commentary when the sun rises, but for now, just enjoy watching the smoke rise. I'm going to have this run at an even 250 for the first half hour. After that, I'm going to drop it down to 210 to 225 and run it for 8 to 10 hours after that. We're a couple hours in, and I have a bottle of apple juice in here that I'm going to use to spray it down. It's not something that you want to do a lot on there, but I think it's something that helps keeps the meat moist. We're gonna be here a while, and it's starting to get daylight, so I wanted to add a little bit of commentary. As far as wood is concerned, I used a combination of mesquite and apple wood for this brisket. We're gonna use about 75% apple wood, 25% mesquite. Several hours have passed now, it's about 11:30, and I've hit what they call in the barbecuing world the brisket stall. What that means is that my brisket isn't really increasing in temperature. You can see right here it says it's 171. And at this stage I can do one of three things. I can either wait out the stall. This makes it so that the brisket has a smokier flavor, but you could be sacrificing moisture. I can wrap it up in tin foil. This is known as the Texas crutch. Or I can wrap it up in butcher paper and stick it in a cooler for a couple hours. Both of these last two methods help speed up the cooking process and help add a little bit of moisture in there. Since I don't have any butcher paper, today I've decided to use the Texas crutch. When you're wrapping up your brisket, you're going to want to make sure that you wrap it up really tight. And I'm going to go ahead and add some apple juice in here that will help with the braising process. Sweaty, sweaty. And after you have that all wrapped up nice and good, you're going to just put it right back in the smoker until it hits a temperature of 190 to 200 degrees. At this stage, the brisket is starting to reach an internal temperature of about 200 degrees. We're going to remove it from the smoker and let it rest for at least an hour. So it's very important that you rest your brisket for at least 45 minutes to an hour, if not a little longer than that. During this time, all the juices are going to kind of meld together, and it's going to create more of a uniform temperature throughout the brisket. I've been resting this brisket for about an hour and a half, and now I'm ready to unwrap and cut. Ooh, it looks good. No, it's not too hot. It's like falling apart. That looks amazing. Now when you're cutting this, you want to make sure that you're slicing against the grain. This cuts the fibers so that they're smaller portions for you to chew. And also, the way that you know that your brisket is done is you get a nice little jiggle. You also want to wait until the last moment to cut your brisket because it will start drying out. So I cut it off this side and it was good, but it was a little bit on the drier side. This side is buttery, delicious. You can see it's nice and droopy. And I'm gonna take a bite. It's so good. It's so good. You have to try this, babe. So there you have it. About 12 hours for a smoked brisket. Go ahead and try this on your own and let me know how it went in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.